The case took place on the night of April 17, 2005 in Los Angeles, USA, and shocked the local community. Nala Khan, a black woman of African descent, was brutally murdered by Philip Walker, a hired killer. The terrifying thing is that the case was masterminded by Madison Carter, the mother of Nal's boyfriend, Ethan Roberts. The motive for the murder stemmed from the hatred and racial prejudice that Madison had long harbored. Madison could not accept that her son had a relationship with Nala, and the tension in the family led to this extreme action. The case exposed the cruelty of social prejudice and family conflicts, making the community shocked and indignant at Madison's brutality and indifference. Ethan Roberts was born in 1978 and grew up in a middle-class family in Los Angeles. His family was not very rich, but always created a full and safe living environment for Ethan. His parents, George and Madison Roberts, both worked hard to maintain the family's financial stability. George was a financial officer while Madison stayed home to care for the family and keep the household in order. Ethan was raised in a family atmosphere that was disciplined, but also full of care and love. Since childhood, Ethan has been known as a gentle, hardworking boy who always obeys the rules. He always tries hard in his studies and is an exemplary student. Ethan is not a person who stands out in a crowd, but he has an easygoing personality and is always willing to help others. This makes Ethan loved by his friends and those around him outside of school. Ethan often spends time helping his parents with housework and enjoying peaceful moments with his family. After graduating from high school, Ethan decided to pursue a career in information technology, a booming field at the time. He attended the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, where he not only achieved high academic results, but also found a true passion for developing software and new technology solutions. Ethan has always been a progressive and hardworking person, so he often spends time studying on his own, researching the latest technologies, and improving his knowledge. After graduating from college, Ethan quickly found a steady job at a well-known tech company in Los Angeles. With his creative thinking and patient personality, Ethan quickly advanced in his career. He was highly regarded by his boss and colleagues for his problem-solving ability and sense of responsibility at work. Ethan's life began to stabilize as he gradually made a name for himself in the technology industry and had a stable income despite his many achievements in his career. Ethan still maintains a simple and humble lifestyle. He does not like to show off or indulge in luxurious pleasures, but instead he spends a lot of time with his family and maintains close relationships with friends. Ethan has always been a kind, decent man and is respected by everyone for the moral values he pursues. However, within that successful and stable life, Ethan still has to face pressures from his family, especially from his mother, Madison. She has always had conservative views and high expectations for Ethan, hoping he would pursue a perfect life according to her standards. Although Ethan respects his mother and always tries to please her, the difference in life views gradually causes hidden conflicts in the relationship between mother and son. On the contrary, Nala Khan was born in 1979. Is of African descent, was born and raised in the United States in a family that was not rich, but always full of love. Nala's parents, although having to work hard, always tried to provide her with a full life and the best education possible. From a young age, Nala showed intelligence and determination to overcome difficulties. She always had a sense of responsibility towards herself and her family, which made Nala a strong and independent woman in the future throughout her high school and college years. Nala was always an excellent student. She is not only good at studying, but also actively participates in extracurricular activities, especially community support programs and helping the poor, with a friendly, sociable, and always willing to listen personality. Nala easily builds good relationships with friends and colleagues. Nala's enthusiasm and passion not only spreads in her work, but also in the way she treats people around her. After graduating from university, Nala decided to pursue a career in education, as she believed that through education she could contribute to changing the lives of many people, especially children from disadvantaged backgrounds. Nala works hard and gradually builds her career as a teacher and an inspiration to the younger generation. She always wants to help students not only achieve good results in their studies, but also develop comprehensively in their personality. Although she is not rich in material things, Nala is always satisfied with the life she has created for herself. She believes that her greatest joy is to bring positive change in the lives of others through education. Her constant efforts and passion for her profession have helped Nala gain respect from her colleagues and affection from her students. Ethan and Nala first met on a warm evening in May 2003 at a fancy restaurant in Los Angeles. That restaurant is where Ethan often comes after stressful working hours to relax and enjoy a delicious meal. Nala, who came to the restaurant at the invitation of a friend, did not expect that this is the place where her life would change forever. Their meeting was not arranged but completely by chance. While Ethan was waiting for his meal, his eyes accidentally met Nala, who was sitting at a nearby table. From the very first moment, Ethan was captivated by Nala's natural beauty. She possesses elegance and simplicity. No need for flashy or ostentatious outfits, but still shines attractively. Nala, with her bright smile and bright eyes, immediately made Ethan feel curious. Meanwhile, Nala also felt Ethan's friendly and warm gaze. Soon, with the help of a waiter, they began chatting. The initial conversation was lighthearted. With casual questions about work and life, Ethan shared about his career in technology and his passion for developing software projects. Nala, a teacher, talked about her meaningful work in education and her desire to bring better opportunities to her students. The two quickly realized that they had a lot in common, especially their passion and dedication to work as well as their outlook on life. Ethan was attracted not only to Nala's beauty, but also to her intelligence and strong personality. Nala exuded confidence and independence, but at the same time was very gentle and warm. These qualities made Ethan unable to take his eyes off her, and he decided that he wanted to get to know her better. For Nala, Ethan's sincerity and gentleness made her feel safe and comfortable. He was unlike any other man she had ever met. He didn't just hear her out. He actually listened and understood. After that first unexpected evening, Ethan and Nala began seeing each other more often. At first they were simple dates, having dinner together or taking a walk in the park. Gradually their relationship developed into a deep love. Ethan always has sincere care and absolute respect for Nala. He always listens and supports her in every decision, while Nala brings Ethan a new sense of life and enthusiasm for work. After 2 years of dating, their feelings grew deeper. They gradually understood each other better, shared their dreams and plans for the future. They talked about building a family where love and respect would be the foundation. Ethan, with his hardworking and gentle personality, always dreams of a peaceful and happy home. Nala, with her independent yet loving personality, also wishes to have a family where she can care for and devote all her love to the one she loves. In 2004, as Ethan and Nala's love affair grows stronger, cracks begin to appear, not from within their relationship, but from the strong intervention of Ethan's mother, Madison Carter. Madison is a conservative woman who values social status and background. When she discovers that her son is in love with a black woman, Madison immediately objects to her. Nala was not only different in skin color, but also a potential threat to her family's prestige and position in the upper-class community she valued. Mrs. Madison constantly expressed her dissatisfaction with this relationship. In her eyes, a woman like Nala, despite her intelligence and talent, was not worthy of being the Carter family's daughter-in-law. She believed that her son, a successful man in the technology industry, should marry a woman of equal background and status. Nala, with her humble background and different skin color, makes Madison fear that this relationship will weaken the family's standing in the eyes of friends and society. This became Madison's biggest concern, and she began to interfere heavily in Ethan and Nala's relationship. Ethan initially tried to appease his mother, hoping that time would help her understand and accept Nala. However, all his efforts failed. Madison not only refused to interact with Nala, but also constantly pressured Ethan, encouraging him to end the relationship. Ethan, despite loving his mother dearly, begins to feel torn between his love for Nala and his responsibilities to his family. Tension becomes inevitable, especially as Ethan and Nala continue to bond and become more serious about building a future together. Nala, despite trying to remain calm and respectful to Madison, couldn't help but sense the hostility from her lover's mother. Nala understood that her skin color and background were unacceptable to Madison, and this hurt her. However, Nala loves Ethan and does not want to give up on this relationship just because of other people's prejudice. She believes that the love between them is strong enough to overcome any challenge. In late 2004, Ethan and Nala decided to officially plan their wedding. Despite Madison's objections, they had been together for almost 2 years and both believed that marriage was the natural next step in their relationship for Ethan. The love and respect he has for Nala outweighs any pressure from his mother. He understands that in order to be happy, he must stand up for his relationship, even if it means facing Madison's disapproval. However, this decision pushed Madison to the brink of anger. Not only did she feel betrayed by her own son, but she also saw Ethan's actions as a betrayal of all the values she had worked so hard to build over the years. Madison begins to show hostility not only towards Nala, but also towards Ethan. Family arguments become more frequent, and Madison repeatedly warns Ethan of consequences if he does not end the relationship. Madison's opposition to Ethan's relationship with Nala becomes increasingly intense. She could not accept that her son would marry a woman whom she considered inappropriate in both skin color and background. Constant arguments between Ethan and Madison left her feeling betrayed and out of control over her son's life. Madison believed that if Nala were no longer there, everything would return to normal, and Ethan would return to her. From then on, negative and cruel thoughts began to form in her mind. Madison came to the decision that the only way to solve the problem was to eliminate Nala. She planned it coldly and calculatingly, without regard for the consequences of her actions. Within a short time, she came into contact with Philip Walker, a notorious hired killer in the criminal underworld. Philip Walker is a notorious criminal who has carried out many contract killings without leaving a trace. He was the one Madison believed could execute her plan perfectly. Madison secretly met with Philip Walker and offered him a large sum of money to kill Nala. She no longer thought of simply preventing the marriage, but truly believed that eliminating Nala was the only way. Madison did not hesitate to discuss this cruel plan, and Philip Walker, who had no mercy, agreed to carry out the assassination. She was willing to give up everything to maintain control over her son. Even Nala's life bitterness, prejudice, and hatred turned Madison from a protective mother to a murderer who would not hesitate to hire someone to kill an innocent person. On the night of April 17th, 2005, Ethan Roberts and Nala Khan were walking in a quiet park in Los Angeles. The peaceful space and cool evening air made the two of them relax, chatting happily about life and the future for Ethan and Nala. This is just another ordinary walk, but little do they know that a murderer is lurking in the shadows, preparing to carry out a brutal plan. Philip Walker, the professional killer hired by Madison Carter, had been following the two for a long time. He moved silently through the bushes and dark corners of the park, his eyes never leaving his target. Philip had been following Nala and Ethan for days, knowing their routines. He waited for the perfect opportunity, a secluded spot to strike without being noticed. When Ethan and Nala stopped by a bench near the lake, Philip realized this was the right moment. He approached quietly, each step light, so as not to make any noise. Ethan and Nala continued to chat, unaware of the approaching danger. From a close enough distance, Philip pulled out a gun from his jacket. With cold and emotionless eyes, he aimed straight at Nala's head. It all happened in a few short seconds, without warning, without any chance for resistance. The sharp sound of the gun rang out, tearing apart the silence of the park. The bullet hit Nala in the head, causing her to collapse on the spot. Blood splattered everywhere, staining the green grass below. Red Nala's body fell heavily and quickly lay still, no longer showing any signs of life. All that had just happened was like an unimaginable nightmare to Ethan, who was just a few steps away from her. Ethan stood there, his eyes wide open in disbelief. The woman he loved so deeply, who had been smiling and laughing happily just seconds ago, now lay motionless before him. Ethan's heart shattered in excruciating pain as he saw the crimson blood spreading under Nala's body. He screamed in despair, his scream echoing throughout the empty space. Nala, Ethan screamed, but there was no response. Nal couldn't hear him, couldn't answer, and never could again. In a panic, he rushed to her side, kneeling beside her, holding her body in his arms. From Nal's wounds soaked into Ethan's hands and clothes, but he felt nothing but emptiness and helplessness. Ethan's hands shook as he tried to shake Nale, hoping for some miracle to wake her, but the cruel reality was that Nal was gone lifeless. The pain of loss was so great that Ethan was almost paralyzed. Tears began to fall down his cheeks, mixed with the indescribable pain. He tried to hold Nal's cold body, as if that could bring her back. Meanwhile, Philip Walker stood not far away, coldly watching the scene he had just created. He showed no remorse or hesitation to him. This was just another job done without leaving a trace. Philip quickly stuffed the gun into his coat and quietly left the scene. No one knew he had been there, and he disappeared without a sound, leaving Ethan in anguish. Ethan, in his panic, couldn't understand why anyone would want to kill Nala. Why had their lives been destroyed in a moment? Like this, the questions raced through his mind, but he couldn't find the answers. The pain of loss was so great that Ethan felt like he couldn't breathe at that moment. Everything around him seemed to stop. Ethan's world was completely shattered, moments before the two of them were happily discussing the future. Now all their hopes, all their dreams are taken away by a random bullet, by the hatred and cruelty of the person behind it. Ethan Roberts, in extreme panic pain. He started calling the police with shaking hands and sadness when the alarm went off. At Los Angeles Police Headquarters on the night of April 17, 2005. An investigative team was quickly dispatched to the park where Ethan Roberts had just made a panicked phone call, reporting the murder. When they arrived at the scene, police found Ethan slumped over the lifeless body of Nala Khan. His eyes were filled with tears, his hands tightly holding Nala's. His mouth kept stuttering painful words. It took the police a while to separate Ethan from his lover's cold body and took him aside to take his initial statement. The crime scene was quickly sealed off, and investigators began collecting evidence, bloodstains, footprints in the grass, and what remained of the bullet were recorded and sampled. However, at this point, there was still no indication of the killer's identity to investigators. This was a sudden murder, with no signs of a robbery or a normal conflict. Ethan, in a state of shock, tried to give the police information. He recounted what had happened, from the gunshots to the image of Nal falling to the ground, but he could not clearly identify the attacker in the darkness. Ethan could only see the silhouette of the killer quickly leaving him and Nala in an unbelievable tragedy. The initial investigation focused on finding the killer. Investigators followed footprints and searched for witnesses around the park, but no one had a clear look at the assassin's face. It was expected to be a difficult and lengthy case, but after only a few days, clues began to appear, strange clues in Ethan's statements about his family, especially the strained relationship between Ethan and his mother. Madison Carter LED investigators to begin to suspect that the murder might not have been a random act. As detectives further investigated Ethan's personal life, they discovered that Madison Carter had a clear motive for opposing Ethan and Nal's marriage. Madison's friends and acquaintances reported that she was extremely angry and could not accept that her son loved and intended to marry a black woman. Madison, with her conservative ideas and obsession with social status, tried many times to break up the couple, but Ethan remained steadfast in his love. Investigators decided to follow Madison more closely, and they quickly discovered her connection to a man named Philip Walker, a notorious contract killer in the criminal underworld. Philip had been involved in several contract killings, and his reputation made it easy for the police to put him on the top suspect list. After gathering enough evidence, the police decided to arrest Philip Walker. He was arrested at an apartment in the suburbs of Los Angeles just a few weeks after the murder of Nal. At the time of arrest, Philip did not appear panicked or resisted, but on the contrary, he was very calm. This made investigators even more certain that he had been paid a large sum of money to carry out the murder. During his interrogation, At the police station, Philip was initially tight-lipped and unwilling to reveal any information. He knew full well the crimes he had committed and had no intention of confessing. However, after being confronted with evidence of his connection to Madison Carter, Philip began to waver. The police discovered money transactions between Madison and Philip and secret phone calls she made to plan the murder under constant pressure from interrogation. And with no way to escape, Philip Walker finally confessed that Madison Carter was the one who hired him to carry out NWA's assassination. He detailed how Madison contacted him, offering him a large sum of money and asking him to kill Nala to prevent her marriage to Ethan. Madison believed that Nala's death would bring Ethan back under her control, and he carried out the murder without hesitation. With Philip's confession, the police quickly turned their investigation to Madison Carter. She was arrested at her home, and when questioned, Madison initially denied all charges. She maintained her innocence and had nothing to do with Nala's death. However, faced with undeniable evidence of her connection to Philip Walker, Madison gradually lost her composure. The Madison Carter and Philip Walker case quickly attracted public and media attention when it was brought to trial. The trial took place in a tense and emotional atmosphere, with many people attending and reporters closely following every development. Madison and Philly were both charged with premeditated murder and faced serious charges. The prosecutor detailed the incontrovertible evidence of Madison's premeditated murder plot. They describe how she contacted and hired Philip Walker to kill Nala out of racial hatred and a desire to control her son. Philip's testimony, along with the money transactions and communications between the two, clearly demonstrated Madison's guilt. Not only did she commit murder, but she also ruined the life of her own son, Ethan Roberts, who was thrust into an unimaginable tragedy. At the end of the trial, Madison Carter and Philip Walker were both sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the Roberts family. This is the end of a dark and painful chapter. Ethan, who witnessed the destruction of his love and family, lost both his mother and his lover because of Madison's personal hatred and prejudice. Thank you for being with me so far in the video. If you like it, and subscribe to our channel to see more videos. Thank you all.